Good morning, I.t.e.r. Today is 6 September. I am madhusmita sharing you today's news headlines. Border actions violate bilateral agreements, Rajnath tells China. Ministry clears COVID-19 tests without prescriptions. 10 sectors qualify for development under DDA policy. Kejriwal attributes rise in cases to increased COVID-19 testing. City records 70-day high in new cases, over 38,000 tests done in a single day in Delhi. Anti-dengue campaign starts today in New Delhi. Up to protest against non-payment of salaries. Coming to the north and west news, Shishant's housekeeper Dipesh Sawant held in drug case. Alleged drug dealer Kaizan Ibrahim remanded in judicial custody for 14 days. Actor Ria's brother Shovik being investigated. Man dies after being assaulted by mob over theft allegations. Akhilesh Gundecha steps down from Drupad Sansthan. Make Sharad Pawar chief after merging NCP with Congress. Karnataka, Andhra Pradesh lead in deaths, new cases. Fresh positives again exceed 10,000 in Andhra Pradesh. Days toll in Karnataka 128. Kerala, Telangana together add over 5,000 cases. Ex-minister's son, realtor named in drug case. Andhra Pradesh stops in ease of doing business. New secretariat to have mosques, temples, church. KCR. India shares a robust defense system with both US and Russia. Rajnath to meet Iranian Defense Minister Hatami. 80 additional trains from September 12. Facebook blocks French men from streaming his death. Facebook said on Saturday it would block the live stream of a Frenchman suffering from an incurable condition who wanted to broadcast his death on the social media platform. Earlier, Alain Kong announced that he was now refusing all food, drink and medicine after President Emmanuel Macron turned down his request for euthanasia. Coming to the wall news, Trump slammed over quotes on soldiers. Biden called the reported remarks disgusting, sick and deplorable. President denies the report. US President cracks down on anti-racism training sessions. Explosion in Bangladesh mosque kills 17. And Korean officials in the dock over typhoon. Facebook Taliban returns to Doha for peace talks. White US professor admits she posed as black woman. Coming to the business news, auto parts makers urged to cut imports. Gadkari tells ACMA to look for substitutes. No rationale to import components like gearboxes can't. Foreign investors take our reform stand seriously. Finance Minister cities inflow of FDI between April to July as evidence. Kerala's Chief Minister stresses on government role in big projects. Auto dealers eye festival demand with caution. Reserve Bank revises audit norms for banks. Government needs to encourage spending. Coming to some science and technology informations, no correlation between CT values and COVID-19 severity. Cycle threshold values can depend on how the sample was collected and even the technical competence of the person performing the test. Currently in India, RT-PCR tests can tell if a person is infected with novel coronavirus or not. It does not reveal the amount of virus present in the person, but there is an indirect way of knowing this. The PCR test amplifies the genetic material from coronavirus through multiple cycles. A single person spreads coronavirus to 23 others in a bus ride. Unlock 4 guidelines by allowing metro rail service may worsen risk of infections. Inhaling polluted air can lead to brain damage. Mice exposed to dirty air formed amyloid deposits and tangles in the brains. What is the GST compensation due to states? Why is the center asking them to borrow from the market to make up the shortfall? What are the options? The story so far, the 41 meeting of the GST Council was held on August 27 with the singular agenda of finding a solution to the question of how best to ensure that the compensation payable of the states as part of the implementation of goods and services taxes continues to be paid. The background for the meeting was the fact that the center and the states were cognizant of the substantial impact on GST collections from this last fiscal year's economic slowdown and more recently the lockdowns and COVID-19 related curbs that have severely shrunk the economy. At the meeting, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman stated that the GST compensation fund was projected to face a shortfall of about 2.35 lakhs crore at the end of the current financial year and suggested two borrowing options that the states could choose from to bridge the shortfall. Now, what is the GST compensation? The Constitution 101st Amendment Act 2016 was the law which created the mechanism for levying a nationwide GST. Written into this law was a provision to compensate the states for loss of revenue arising out of implementation of the GST. The adoption of the GST was made possible by the states ceding almost all the powers to impose local level indirect taxes and agreeing to let the prevailing multiplicity of imposts be subsumed under the GST, while the states would receive a SGST, that is state GST, component of the GST and a share of the IGST, that is integrated GST. It was agreed that the revenue shortfalls arising from the transitions to the new indirect taxes regime would be made good from a pooled GST compensation fund for a period of 5 years that is set to end in 2022. This corpus in return is funded through a compensation cess that is levied on so-called demerit goods. The computation of the shortfall mechanism for which is spelled out in Section 7 of the GST Act 2017. The Centre has proposed that the states issue debt under a special window coordinated by the Finance Ministry, but several states point out that the onus is on the center to make good any shortfall. Why was a new group of tennis players formed? How does this affect the ATP, which handles the men's tour? Have other top players joined Djokovic-led association? The world number one has described the Professional Tennis Players Association as a complementary body and not a union calling for boycotts and parallel tours, but the ATP sees it is antithetical. Is COVID-19 setting off a bradykinin storm in the body? via some patients showing a rapid accumulation of fluid in the lungs. What have scientists found out? Scientists are still trying to understand the causes of the rapid deterioration in some patients with COVID-19, while the cytokine storm is to able to explain certain aspects of what goes wrong. Doctors treating patients are often fogged by the severity with which the SARS-CoV-2 virus seems to affect some people. A supercomputer's recent analysis of data on the contents collected earlier from the lungs of the patients with the COVID-19 infection has showed that a phenomenon called bradykinin storm might explain how the virus works in the body, including some of the more puzzling extreme events. How has this explanation emerged? This plausible explanation has emerged from the data analytics work that a team of scientists led by Dan Jacobson at the Oak Ridge National Laboratory in the US have been doing employing the Supercomputer Summit. In a paper published in July in eLife, a peer-reviewed journal, Michael R. Garvin et al. Advanced the bradykinin hypothesis as a means of explaining some of the more deadly effects the virus has on human body. Bradykinin is a compound that is related to pain sensation and lowering blood pressure in the human body. According to the researchers, SARS-CoV-2 uses a human enzyme called ACE2 like a Trojan horse to sneak into the cells of its host. ACE2 lowers blood pressure in the human body and works against another enzyme known as ACE. The analysis further found that the virus caused the levels of ACE to fall in the lungs and consequently pushed up the levels of ACE2. As a chain reaction, this increases the levels of the molecule bradykinin in the cells, causing a bradykinin storm. Bradykinin causes the blood vessels to expand and become leaky, leading to swelling of the surrounding tissue. In addition, the levels of substances called hyaluronic acid, which can absorb more than 1000 times its own weight in water to form a hydrogel, increased. In effect, the bradykinin storm induced leakage of fluid into the lungs combined with the excess hyaluronic acid would likely to result in a jello-like substance that is preventing oxygen uptake and carbon dioxide in the lungs of severely affected COVID-19 patients. The researchers explains this. What follows confirmation of this hypothesis? Jacobson and other scientists have advocated targeting the bradykinin pathway to evolve more therapeutic interventions to offset the severe effects of COVID-19. Repurposing of available drugs subject to the outcome of clinical trials has also been suggested. Coming to the sports news, Tenacious Corrick pulls a fast one off on Tsitsipas. Key for Nagel to improve his serve. IPL scheduled to be out today. Patel. England pulls off an incredible win. Hamilton zooms to pole again. Peters wins stage 8. Yet ahead. Relegation promotion from 2024 to 25 in ISL. Ian Bell calls it quits. That's all. Thank you. Have a nice day.